You want to take that?
I don't think we need it.
No, you can put it on there. It's okay.
Yeah.
Check 1 2. Check. Check 1 2. Check.
What? You have your phone, Jennifer?
Yes.
Can we have Batman? Can you just put Batman right there under the speaker? Let me connect Batman.
Where do you want?
Right under the speaker.
Yep, connected.
Connected. Wow. I love this.
You want me on top of the speaker?
No. Just on the carpet underneath.
Alright.
This is fantastic. Look at where it is. And look at the way it goes. I mean, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I know that it's difficult with all of the restrictions that we have because of the COVID-19 situation, but I'm happy that some of us made it here and are able to say goodbye to Igal. There are a couple of things that are running through my mind as we're doing this. First of all, that of course for Barbara and Sharon and Danny and all of his grandchildren, he really was a larger than nature force in their lives as a father, as a husband, as a grandfather. But then there was his shul life. And for all of us, he was a larger than nature force in our life here. To the point that one of the things that we all were looking forward as this pandemic hopefully draws to a close one of these years was to be able to see Igal again and to take orders from Igal and to be yelled at by Igal in a loving, fatherly way. So it's really unreal that the first time that we come together for something like this is for Igal. It almost doesn't make any sense. But we're here, we are honored to be able to be here, and hopefully we will be able to render to him the honor due him because of who he was and what he represented for all of us. The Jewish people respond to that with 3 words of blessing. In English, the words mean, praised is the judge of truth. We begin our service with the wisdom of our tradition. Baruch dayan emet. Praised is the judge of truth. Adonai natan, Adonai lakach, Shem Adonai mevorach. Adonai has given and Adonai has taken. Praised be the name of Adonai. The time of mourning is a very complicated time. which is filled with many emotions and memories that are both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with a recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Yigal's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. מזמור לדוד. אדוני מי יגור באוהליך מי ישכון בהר קודשך. הולך תמים ופועל צדק ועורר מת בלבבו, לא רגל על לשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה, בחרפה לא נשא על קרובו. נפזה בעיניו נמאס ותראה אדוני יכבד. נשבע להרע ולא יאמיר. כספו לא נתן בנשך ושוחד לא נקי, ושוחד הנקי לא לקח. עושה אלה לא ימות לעולם. A Psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? If we live with integrity and do what is right and speak the truth without deceit. If we have no slander upon our tongue and do no evil to others. If we never mistreat our neighbor, but honor those who revere Adonai. If we never retract the promise once made, though it may bring us harm. If we accept no bribe against the innocent. If we make these deeds our own, then we shall stand firm forever.
Mizmor David, Adonai ro'i lo exar, bin od asher yabitzeni, al memnuchot yanaleni. Nafshi shover, yancheni b'malei tzedek leman shemo. גם כי הלם בגיא צר מוות, לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ירחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דישנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רבעי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever.
Talmid Chacham imet mi mevi lanu temurato. Ki yesh la kesef motza umakom la zachav yazoku. Barzel me'afar yukach ve'even yazuk nehusha ve'hahokma me'ayin timatzeh ve'et zeh mechom Bina. Talmid Chacham imet mi mevi lanu temurato. There is no replacing a person of wisdom. There are mines for silver and places where gold is refined,
Iron is taken from the earth and copper is smelted from the rock. But where can wisdom be found? And where is the source of understanding? There is no replacing a person of wisdom. This passage comes from the book of Job, from the book of Eov, and I selected it for Igal because it talks about a man of wisdom. You know, as a rabbi, many people assume that we know everything, but the truth is, if we're humble enough to admit it, we can learn from the people that we serve as well. And Igal was one of those people who I could call a friend, but I could also call a teacher. Sometimes we would speak in Hebrew together, and I would call him Moreh Sheli, or Adoni, my teacher, my master. So I started doing this, and one day he said, Rabbi, no, don't call me those things. I'm just Igal. Igal was a man who wanted to learn Torah. He wanted to talk about Torah. He wanted to dissect Torah. He wanted to investigate Torah, and he wanted to live Torah. He begged me to start a Torah class after Minyan on Tuesdays, and we'd get together over bagels and we'd learn about the Tanakh or the Gemara together, and he would keep any source sheet I gave him. And weeks after I taught the class, he'd come back and he'd ask me a question about something that I hadn't thought about in a long time. Igal challenged me, he inspired me, but most importantly, he supported me. And that is what wise men do. That is what Igal did. The Jewish people have lost a chacham, but yet while he was here, we gained so much. Thank you, Igal.
It is our tradition to remember those who leave this world, whom we love so much, with words that actually bring them back even for a couple of minutes, so we can remember them the way they were when they held us, when they touched us, and when they moved us. We're going to begin by listening to words by Jack Liblang, one of Igal's grandchildren. So I'm going to ask Jack at this time to please share with us some of that wisdom that his grandfather shared with him. Give me 1 second. I need to unmute you. And this is the one thing that didn't teach us, how to unmute people on Zoom, so hold on for 1 second. There you go.
You can hear me? My relationship with my grandpa is very important to me. And words can't even begin to show how much I loved and appreciated him. He was there for me since day one, and I am very grateful for every single minute of it. If he is listening, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for being a terrific grandpa, a great father, and also for being an amazing friend. I'll never forget our visits, our vacation, and all of the great stories that you told me. You always gave me great advice, and I'll never forget it. I love you, Saba, and I'll miss you, and I'll never forget you.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to switch over to Benjamin Husainov, who's also one of Eli's grandchildren. I'm just trying to locate him over here in the Zoom. Give me 1 second. We're trying to unmute you. We're looking at you, but I can't unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? No? Let me see. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Hear me?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I have many friends that weren't fortunate enough to grow up with their grandparents and be able to have lifelong memories with them. I'm just very extremely grateful that I was able to have 17 amazing years with my grandfather, full of amazing memories. My brother and I are so grateful that we got to speak to him a few days before passing. We talked about my job, what was to come in the future. My papa was one of the best guys I've ever known, an all-around great guy that always wanted to do right by people. He was always full of life and enjoyed making me and my cousins happy. It's the little things I'm going to miss the most, like when he would dance, sing his songs, Sabe Piccolino, Sabe Piccolino. At times he would slowly bite my arm, squeeze my leg. He meant the world to me and my family. And may he rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. I'd like to go to the shower bit right now.
Oh, that was beautiful, guys.
John, if you were speaking to one of the mics.
Which one should I? Does it matter? No? Oh, thank you all for being here. And thank you for everybody that's on Zoom. Not the right microphone. Does this work? Is this better? Thank you all for being here. Thank you for everybody on Zoom. We know that my father was deeply loved by everyone whose life he touched. My dad didn't always agree with the choices that I made. And yes, I haven't always made the right choices. But I'm learning to look ahead and not backwards and to follow my heart. Something that he had a hard time doing sometimes. I didn't always make him happy, but I knew he still loved me even when he disagreed with me. He just told me this past weekend when we saw him that I was special and amazing and great. Words I didn't often hear expressed by him towards me, so they were really special. He loved my fiance, Itai, who had become his buddy over the past 3 years. And he felt good about leaving me in his hands. He was proud of both of my children and felt good that we were all on the right road. He said he was happy. My brother and I and our families were wonderful. He's had a full life and he was ready to go. He said that just this last weekend. We, of course, laughed it off and told him that we expected him to stick around for another 10 years. But he clearly felt that the time was upon him for him to leave. And I'm glad that he left happy and proud of us and the life that he created for us and all of those that he touched on his journey. My rabbi shared a poem, a prayer by Rabbi Naomi Levy with me that Danny and I felt touched on exactly what we're feeling. So we wanted to read it to you. I'll read it to you in English. He'll read it again later in Hebrew. Prayer for our Father. We miss you. You gave us our lives. You are our protector, our teacher, our moral compass, our comfort. We feel so alone without you. No one worries about us the way you did. No one loves us the way that you did. Please forgive us for the times we caused you pain and for the times we took you for granted. We can't begin to fathom all of the sacrifices you made for our sake. We want to thank you for all the ways that you blessed our lives. Nothing can replace the gaping hole your death has left in our lives. but mixed together with all of our sadness, there is great joy for having known you. We will remember your smile, your touch, your laughter, your kindness, your generosity, your determination, and your love. Thank you for the time we shared, for the love you gave, for the wisdom you spread. We will always treasure the lessons you taught us. We will carry them with us all the days of our lives. We are so proud to be your children. May God watch over you and bless you with gentleness and with love, just as you blessed us. Rest in peace, Daddy. Amen.
Next, I would like to call Danny Kosainov, Eagle's son.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, hello everybody. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person today. You know, I appreciate all the people in the sanctuary and everyone watching online. It means so much to my mother, to my sister and I. Really, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. It's unfortunate that we can't congregate together and that today and over Shiva to eulogize this man's life that was so special. Of course, thankfully, we're blessed to have this technology at this time so we can celebrate his life together this way. It would be bad without it, you know? My father, Yigal, he was a wonderful man who touched so many people. It's funny because many of us that knew him, you know, we knew he didn't like to talk on the phone very much. He didn't like to talk very long. He'd speak to us for a couple of minutes and get off the phone. But when he was in your presence, he was present. He was there for you, and you felt it. He cared about you, and you knew it. Together, my parents, they did so much good work for their community in New York. And as most of you know, they've done the same for their new community in Las Vegas, which they love so much. No matter how much they argued, and they could argue a lot, they liked to argue, they were always on the same page when it came to their family, their faith, and their community. I feel so blessed to have had his leadership, his guidance, and talent shape me, just like a piece of fine jewelry that he crafted. I'm so thankful that the foundation he formed with my wife, Michelle, my sons, Ben and Sam, was so deep and strong. We will carry his lessons, his love, and his memory in our hearts and in our minds forever. Abba, אנחנו מתגעגעים אליך. נתת לנו את חיינו. היית המגן שלנו, המורה שלנו, המנחה המסורי שלנו. אנחנו מרגשים כל כך לבד בלעדיך. אף אחד לא דואג לנו כמו שעשית. אף אחד לא אוהב אותנו כמו שעשית. אנא סלח לנו על הפעמים שגרמנו לך לכאבים. ועל הפעמים שלקחנו אותך כמובן מעליו. אנחנו לא יכולים להתחיל לעלות על כל מה שהקרבת בשבילנו. אנו רוצים להודות לך על כל הדרכים שברכת עבורנו. שום דבר לא יכול להחליף את החור הפעור שמותח נותר בחיינו, אבל בשילוב עם כל העצב שלנו, יש שמחה גדולה על כך שהכרנו אותך. אנו נזכור את החייך שלך, את המגן שלך. אנו זוכרים את הצחוק שלך, הטוב לב שלך, את הדיבות שלך, נחישות שלך, האהבה שלך. תודה על הזמן שחלקנו, על האהבה שנתת לנו, על החוכמה שהחנכת לנו. אנו תמיד נעריך את השיעורים שלימדת אותנו. אנו נעשה אותם איתנו כל ימי חיינו. אנחנו כל כך גאים להיות הילדים שלך. יהי רצון שאלוהים ישמור עליך ויברך אותך בעדינות ובאהבה, כמו שברכת אותנו. תנוח בשלום אבא. אמן.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to welcome Barbara at this time.
It's been a hard 54 years living with Ego. We had a real mixed marriage. I, a New York City college-educated teacher, and Ego, a Sabra Israeli with a well-ingrained Central Asian Bukharian patrilineal culture. But we hit it off as soon as 10 minutes after we met. There was not only ethnic differences, but Hebrew language differences. I was Ashkenazic, he was Sephardic. My parents were Polish or Austrian, and his parents came from the Khanate of Bukhara, an important stop on the Silk Road from China to Istanbul. What we had in common was our love for Israel and our great faith that the state would endure. I thought I was on the fast track back to Israel when I met Igal. I was a permanent resident for 2 years, and I longed to return. However, Igal loved the United States. He loved all the modern conveniences, he loved the big cars, he liked air conditioning. So we were opposite there. We spent the first 30 years raising our children, Dan and Sharon, while my mother and father visited the Machatunim in Israel every year. We were always having heated discussions, as I explained to my young grandsons. But somehow, in important occasions and heavy issues, we worked perfectly together. We founded a new synagogue for the original 18 families, Bukhari families, in a garage. Doesn't everything start in a garage? Today, with our names on a wall plaque at the entrance to the main hall of the synagogue in New York, we can proudly say there are 40,000 Bukhari Jews who moved through those doors since 1966. We have the individual plaques to thank us for our service to the community. Another difference between us was how we prepared food. My mother's European background had little imagination about what a salad consisted of. A half-green tomato and a slice of lettuce, smothered in homemade dressing, mayonnaise and ketchup. Igal educated me to the Israeli-style dining, with Israeli salad, salt and lemon, garlic and coriander, dipped in water, fried matzah in square packs instead of scrambled eggs, soaked matzah bride. He liked spicy gefilte fish instead of sweet, etc. Every food was served diametrically opposite. Even the manner of serving guests was opposite. As an American, I would ask a guest, would you like some tea? If they said no, I didn't pursue it. Igal, on the other hand, assumed that the no was a polite way of really saying yes. And before the teapot whistled, cookies, cake, halva, nuts, mangoes, papayas, etc. would appear on the table, and the guests would cheerfully indulge themselves until the serving trays were empty. But we learned to compromise. Yigal ate sweet gefilte fish, and I learned to eat fried fish dipped in garlic, coriander water. I learned how to make the Israeli salad, even though I still think I'm ruining a tomato by cutting it into mincemeat so small. I learned how to make the national dishes of Bukhara, baksh, which was green rice and minced meat, pilau, which depended on a pound of carrots cut in unified rectangular boxes, meat and onions, and mounds of white basmati rice. I never really mastered the rice like his mother and his sister did. Even that was the last meal I prepared for Shabbat, and he died 15 minutes before we sat down at the table. But I remember carrying my large baklava pan around when I went looking for housing here. And I always wanted to find an oven big enough to hold my baklava pan. But hooray for Costco. They make a wonderful box of baklava, and I only had to make it 3 times in 22 years here. With all this conflict, we raised our kids, built synagogues, contributed to the community by educating immigrants to the American way of life. Yigal, with his jewelry factory, employed all of his nephews, and I mean all, about 5 to 7 of them, and they all live with us. I collated and wrote the synagogue bulletin, the Bukhari synagogue, in English, Hebrew, and Russian to reflect the congregation. And I ran the children's holiday parties and Purim parties. Yigal taught me how to socialize with his extended family in the United States. Extended because they all intermarried within their group, and there were so many of them. 22 years into marriage, one of the wives of a board member had a wedding for her son. He also married out to an Ashkenaz. This wife put her arm around my shoulder and sighed, "What will we do with an Ashkenaz in our family?" I rebuffed her and said, "Yael, who are you hugging?" She looked at me and said, "You're Bukhari already." So it only took me 20 years to finally be accepted into the group. That's tough going. With all our opposite dispositions, Yigal taught me how to help him be the man most of you know. The learned man, the funny man, the helpful man, and the man I love best of all. I am proud to have lived and loved with him till the end of his days.
I want to take just a couple of minutes to say some words about Yigal, whom I met 22 years ago, more or less, and my life was never the same. First of all, every morning as he walked past my door, I kind of like prayed that he went straight for the exit, and when I saw him come back, I knew I was in trouble. He would sit there and he would tell me everything that was happening in the minyan that nobody else but he knew was happening, meaning he had made up a novel, a script for Hollywood about all of these passions and things going on, and who wanted to be a gabbai and who wanted to daven, and he was not being the gabbai and he was not davening, he was upset. And I remember one day talking to Rabbi Benny and I said, "Am I crazy? Or is he just making all of this up?" And Benny, being the nice guy, he just looked at me with an empty stare like, Yigal had a very unique way of looking at the world, his way. And he made sure that you actually understood that it was his way or the highway. And look, I have many stories to prove it and many scars to prove it. But there is one story about Igal that nobody mentioned here today, and I have to do it because we could not do it justice. We could not do the whole thing justice. There was a time in his life when he was running around the United States, and for some reason he had to change his name. I won't go into details. But he chose the name Ronnie Ben Joseph. And every time when he was like misbehaving, I would go to him and say, is this Igal Kosaimov or is this Ronnie Ben Joseph? He would say, you caught me. I have to go back to being Igal Kosaimov. He always had an incredible word of advice. He always had what he considered the right thing to do right at the tip of his tongue. And sometimes really it was not the right thing to do. But you had to go with emotions and do it, or else you would never hear the end of it. And Rabbi Hudson just explained how he was like a teacher to him. To me, he was a teacher of a very different kind. His Torah to me was completely different. We never sat down and studied Chumash. Although, let me tell you, he had the crown of a Keter Shem Tov. He had the crown of a good name. He had the Keter, the Keter Kehuna, the crown of the priesthood. He was so proud of being a Kohen. And he also had the Keter Torah. Because his Torah was not only about what was written in the book. He had a very unique way of looking at the world. And this will be the last story, but I could spend all night here, and I know that, I cannot do that. Well, one before last story. He says to me, what is your son doing? I said, he's in college. He says, you should tell him to drop out of college. I said, Igal, I'm not going to tell my son to drop out of college. Tell him to drop out of college right now. He's going to make no money. He has to go into business. I said, Igal, he's working very hard. He wants to be, I know, he wants to be a doctor. I said, no, a veterinarian. Oh, well, that's better because if he kills a dog, nobody cares. And it's all cash. I said, thank you, Igal. When I first met him, a couple of weeks after we both realized we were stuck in Las Vegas for good. And of course, you never just met Igal. You met Igal and Molly and Barbara. He gave me a gift that I kept ever since. But I've never had the courage of wearing. Because it was clearly designed for the Bukharian people, not for the Ashkenazim. And it is a tallis clip that says my name in gold, huge. It says Rabbi Felipe Goodman, and this is real gold, let me tell you. And you're supposed to put it like this, across your chest on your tallis. I said, Igal, I know who I am. Why did you give me my name in gold? Just so that you know how much you're worth. I have to tell you, he was not the tallest and biggest of people. He was a giant. He taught us that you don't measure the stature of a man by his physical size, but by the size of his soul and his heart. It is a lesson that I think we all will take with us as long as we live. Because Igal really made our lives completely different. The Torah portion that we just read narrates how the 12 spies go into the land, and 10 of them can only see themselves as grasshoppers. They see themselves as small, surrounded by giants. It's ironic. But Igal was the giant. Igal was the giant. There was nothing he couldn't conquer. There was nothing he didn't know. There was nothing he couldn't do. And here's the best part. There are people that you ask them for the time and they tell you how to build a watch. This was not him. Igal gave you advice that really was hard-learned advice in life. The last time I went to Israel, I brought him a picture of Bukharian bread. I actually wanted to buy it and bring it, but the person at the shuk told me it will last for like 5 hours and then I will just bring a rock back to Las Vegas. But I showed him the picture of Bukharian bread, and he literally started salivating. I said, Igal, how good was it? He said, nah, to tell you the truth, it was not so good. I'm salivating about my childhood and about my life and what it was and what it meant with my brothers and my parents. He became a bar mitzvah 1 year after the state of Israel was established. He had all the stories of how they hid all of the fighters. Every single fighter that ever fought for the state of Israel hid in Igal's house. We will miss you, but we will remember you, not only because of your stories, but because of the footsteps that you leave so that we can follow in them. Igal, all of us here at Temple but Sholom will never forget you. I can assure you that it will take at least a couple of years for anyone to have the courage to sit on your chair during Minyan. Because that for us is really a holy space. Because you made it so with your presence, with your giantness, and with the size of your heart. May his soul was bonded to the bond of life eternal. And let us say, Amen. I want to ask us all to please rise for a memorial prayer.
במעלות קדושים קוראים כזוהר כי המזהירים את נשמת יגאל בן ציון הכהן שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תחי מנוחתו אנא ברחמים אז תראו בסתר כנפי לעולמי וצרור בצרור חיים נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. To the soul of our beloved Igal ben Zion Kohen, who has gone to his eternal home. Adonai, we ask that Igal find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May Igal's soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. I'm going to ask at this time the following people from Armenian to help us be pallbearers. First of all, the only person not from Armenian, Itai, but also Rabbi Benny Katz, Itzik, Rabbi Jonathan Hodson, Joe, Thin Jerry. You know, Eagle had a nickname for everybody, so Thin Jerry. Matt, Morris, please come forward. יושב בסתר עליון בצל שלו התמונה, ומעל במה מסיום שפתיע לו את דרכו, ויוצאתך מפח דרכוש מדבראות, בברתו יסך לך מתחת לפח תכסה סימן ספרה עמתו, מותירה מפח הלילה בחץ זהות יומם,